Hey, this is Flo and welcome back to the second video of the Stocks app 30-day challenge series. Okay, so I've already opened my browser and made an HTTP request to the API route here. So I just pasted in the route to my browser bar and hit enter. And this is the data that we got back. What I then did is I selected and copied everything over into Ducky and pasted it into the top window here. Ducky is just a free Mac app that you can download in the App Store, which automatically converts JSON into Swift structs that are codable. Now the thing is that for this specific API, the result is actually consisting of a lot of dictionaries. So, and they all have different names. They are named with the date that they are associated with. And because of that, the converted code from Ducky doesn't really work. So I'm still just, you can actually hit the copy icon here. I'm still copying it from Ducky and pasting it into a new file that I added in the Xcode project. I just called it stock data. And I'll just paste everything in here. Now I don't need a second import, obviously, and I can change the struct name to stock data. And now if we scroll down here, so the first thing that we notice is that the variable names are all very weird, which is because the API response actually has a numbering here. We will handle that in just a moment, but first of all we will tackle the general structure. Because as you can see, there's this time series 5 minutes struct, which in itself has a lot of the same structs, just with different names, because they are the names that the API gave us back here. But this is not what we need. So we can actually scroll up a bit. All we need is this very first one, and all the others we can just delete. So I will just scroll down here and actually scrolling down like this is a lot faster. And then I will just delete everything. Okay. So now we need to actually rename this struct here, and I'll just call it stock data entry, make it codable. And then we actually don't need this time series 5 minutes, so we can just delete it and put in the stock data entry. And actually, let me see. So let me format everything. Okay, looks a lot nicer already. So the stock data entry needs a closing bracket. Okay, hit Control I again. Okay, now we obviously don't have the time series 5 min anymore. So instead, what we need is a dictionary of string to stock data entry, and we also need that metadata here. And now this should actually work. Okay, so next up I will rename all of these variables. So I'll just remove all of that numbering and make them lowercase. Okay, just like that. So now all of these variables are actually readable. The only important thing is that I don't change the values of the coding keys because they are needed for the JSON decoder to work. Okay, so now that we have our data model, the next thing that we need is, I already did this, so I went into my content view and I created a view model class called content view model. And inside of this class, I will now create a function to fetch the data for any symbol, or any stock symbol actually. So first of all, what I'm going to do for that is I'll create a public variable called API key. And in here you need to add your actual AlphaVantage API key. I've already declared this in another file, so I did it in this secret file, which I'm not going to show you obviously because my API key is contained in that variable. but this is just needed for us to go on. So as you can see, we're going to use combine for that, and when you're handling combine subscriptions, you always need to store them. So first what I'm going to do, as always, is just create a set of any cancelable to store all of the subscription in there. Then I will create a func, I'll call it get stock data for symbol, which is a string. Okay, and now we can actually write the logic. So this is very similar to my any JSON API video. So I will go over this a bit quicker. So we will of course access the URLs session shared instance, then create a data task publisher for a URL. So I will create that URL here with a string, and you can just paste in this string here. Then obviously you need to put in the API key here in the end, like this, and then you need to replace IBM with the symbol that you want, so just like this. Okay, and then this URL is actually optional, so I will force unwrap it because I am sure that this URL exists, but usually you should not force unwrap things. Now I can just pass it here into my data task publisher, then do the same try map that I did the other video. So I will grab the element and transform it to some data. Oops, not index, just in. Okay, and then I will make sure that there is no HTTP error. So guard that HTTP response equals element.response, because this is a tuple of data and response. And let's try to make this an HTTP URL response. And if that succeeds, then I will make sure that the HTTP response status code is 200. So everything is good. And otherwise, I will just throw a URL error of bad server response. Okay. So basically this converted the tuple of response, and then obviously I have to return the data, sorry, element.data. So what this try map did is it basically converts the tuple of a response and some data into just the data and makes sure that the response is valid. Okay, next up, we can actually decode this data to our stock data.self, which is codable using a JSON decoder. And then we can subscribe to the result, writing a standard completion block here. So you just switch on the completion. There are two cases. There is the failure case, which gives you an error. So for now, we will just print the error. In an actual application, you would want to handle this error correctly. And then also there's the finished case, in which case we will just return and do nothing. Okay, and now the receive value closure, where you actually get the stock data in. And for now, I will just print the stock data. And then in the end, as always for combine, you need to store this subscription in your cancellables array. Okay, so obviously we need to call this function. So I will just make it easy for us, and in the initializer I will just call get stock data for IBM. Run this again, and then you can see that we actually get all of the data that we want. Okay, so that's it for this video. In the next one, we will actually handle this data and display it in our UI. Again, if you liked the video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. The series will go on for a few more videos, and then there will be some more tutorials and other stuff coming your way. So see you in the next one.